Mickey's enthusiasm, warmth, intelligence and sense of humour touched so many lives, from her colleagues on the Archives Council to the fellows at the Qantas hangar, her workmates on the 5th floor, at the university or in the library, to fellow dog walkers at Lee Point and to the women she would knit with occasionally on a Sunday afternoon. And welcome the knitters today. In this oration, which I've called Telling the Territory Stories, and I thought, what a boring title, if only Mickey was here to find me a really good one, so apologies, David, which I have called Telling the Territory Stories. I want to remember Mickey's contribution to the exploration and explanation of the Territory's history. Telling our story, or telling our stories, because Mickey brought so many of them to life over her 37 years living and working here in Darwin. And so I want to celebrate that this evening. But I also want to spend some time this evening challenging the major stories we now tell about ourselves, the major narratives of the Territory, and ask whether we've become too comfortable with them. And is it time to rework that narrative, shake it up a bit, expand it? Have we overlooked key Territory stories that should be told? Stories that are of our past, but still current and developing. But first to Mickey, her professional life, what she did and why she did it in her own words. She wrote this a while ago. In my time in the North, I've had wonderful jobs, working as a researcher, teacher, writer, political advisor, thank you Mickey, librarian and curator. I have presented and published many articles, books and reports on Northern Territory history, literature, politics, heritage and collections development. I am passionate about the stories from the Territory's social and political history and committed to promoting a more complex and nuanced understanding of our region within the national discourse. And that's what Mickey did. She was both a serious academic and a great storyteller, and made the Territory's social and political history better understood and valued, and importantly, come alive. Mickey was a wonderful storyteller. It didn't matter where, at a dinner party, around a board table, in a lecture theatre, live on radio, or sitting in her kitchen over a pot of tea. Her stories were colourful, funny, full of personal anecdotes and well-researched facts. Indeed, she was such a good storyteller that I imagine that if pressed, she could have matched it with the best of the Territory's tall tale tellers. And we've certainly had a notorious few of those. And I have no doubt that she would have comfortably held the crowd in even the most raucous pub. And I don't know whether she ever did. Did she? No, I don't think so. Okay. Let me take you back now to 2010. Mickey was doing an interview on ABC Radio here in Darwin. It was Dr. Mickey Dewar, the freelance historian, and she began by talking about the challenges of doing research before the arrival of the laptop and the modem. Microfiche she described as a shocker, mostly because she had to resort to taking anti-seasickness tablets to prevent microfiche motion sickness. It was those tiny little photos on the page that were the culprit. However, she was much more nostalgic about her early days researching in our archives. She said, when you went to the Northern Territory Archives Service, there was no proper listing, so you had to go to these cards that were about half an A4 size and actually look for handwritten stuff. They had what you would call back numbering, and you'd trace the file back to the original. You could actually find stuff that no one had seen since, say, 1932. So your chances of turning up something that no one had seen before were really good. She added that now researching online wasn't such an adventure, and that the outcomes for a researcher could be much more predictive. When I was rereading some of Mickey's books in preparing for this oration, her commitment to research so she could actually tell Territory stories was so apparent. The Black War in Arnhem Land, published in 1992, Inside Out in 1999, and Darwin No Place Like Home in 2010. The extent of her research fills page after page of references and bibliography, evidence of long hours of detective work undertaken with great delight in the archives here and in Canberra. And that detective work over the best part of 4 decades told us important stories about the Territory's often unknown and complex history, about the people, the policies, the politics, the recovery from disasters like war and cyclones, and how that past has shaped our present and will shape our future.